Mike. All right. I'm going to do it again. First 4 rows, please. I know adults don't like being told what to do, but I have the mic and I'm up front. So I'm going to ask you to be in the first 4 rows. And once you get in the first 4 rows, I want you to talk to the person next to you and find out 2 things about them. But you have to be in the first 4 rows. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. But seems like I got this. First 4 rows. Someone's in the 5th. A couple of people are in the 5th. First 4 rows. We are here to network, right? We're here to meet people. And the closer you are, the easier it is for you to meet people. I'm going to do a quick pitch session. So, there he is. All right. So 60 to 90 seconds. I'm going to introduce a few people to the stage. 60 to 90 seconds. Because this is Anastasia's time, so I don't want to take hers. If you go over, she's going to, we're going to. All right. So first up, 60 to 90 seconds. Show them how it's done.
Opportunity? All right, good. How many of you are learning a lot today? Yeah, who's not having their hand up? How many of you are having so much knowledge into your head you don't know what to do with it? And how many of you will you apply this knowledge tomorrow or next week? Yeah, you are nice, but actually you will not. Only 5% of you who are in here, you will apply what you will learn. And this is what I want to speak with you about. Like this panelist in the last session, they mentioned one important thing, and it was action. If you want to achieve anything in life, you need to take action. That's all about it. And I'm hosting next month in Birmingham, 2 days live event. It's just called Action Taker Summit. And it's about action, business, and mindset. So if you would like to come along and you speak with me after this session, I'll gift you a ticket for free. We still have seats available. So that's all. My name is Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. We're going to bring someone else up. Could we have the walk slide, please? The walk slide. I just want to challenge everybody in here. You know, we have property professionals in here. I read something the other day where this guy was saying, I have to sell 30 of my 75 properties. And I shouldn't say it like that. That's being insensitive. That's a quality problem. That's a quality problem to have. There are people with no home. I'm going to introduce you to Phil. We are doing a walk next week. Could everyone just scan the QR code, please? Please donate. You can donate money, or you can join us on the walk next week. Phil will be 2 minutes or less, and then we'll go over to Vasim and then Anastasia.
Thanks, Anthony. Great to see you all. I hope you've had a good conference today. As Anthony said, I represent a charity called Healthy Living Projects. We run a project called the Welcome Centre. It's only half a mile from here, and it deals in a practical way with homelessness. It's not something that any of us want to see. We offer a very practical response. So we provide food, we provide clothing, we provide a laundry service. We provide support, one-to-one support to help people out of homelessness and back into accommodation. It's a starting point. It's a platform from which they can grow and develop as individuals. So please, next week, we're out there walking. Hopefully it won't be raining, but we're going to be walking to raise up to 5K. I hope you can scan the QR code. Please donate. Please help us. Or come and join us, because it's not just about raising funds, but raising awareness. So please join us. Please support us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a goal of £5,000. When I checked, we were at 29%, so we really want to get over that hump. It will mean a lot. Vasim, you're the last person, and then we will hand over to the wonderful Anastasia.
Thanks, Anthony. My name is Vasim. I'm here from the Federation of Small Businesses. We're the UK's largest small business organisation. We've got over 150,000 members. What do you get as a member? You get unlimited legal advice. So anytime you want to speak to a solicitor, you can call us. And why would you need a solicitor? Maybe you've got a problem with one of your customers. Maybe somebody owes you money. Maybe you've got a problem with your missus, in which case don't ring us. We also give you tax investigation protection. So you get tax investigation, we can do that for you. All our guys are ex-tax inspectors. If you need advice on health and safety, we can help you there. If you employ staff, you should definitely join us as laws are changing or looking to be changed on employment. And then we can give you hopefully some discounts through our service providers. So free business banking if you need quotes for your insurances. Plus we have over 100 different networking events every month, which you're welcome to attend. Some are actually in person and some are online. So if you want to know more, come and see me. I'll be sitting down there. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much. Front 4 rows. Come on forward, guys. Those of you just come in, squeeze forward onto the front 4 rows, please. If you say it fast enough, it doesn't really come out right, but front 4 rows. So this last session is our legacy tax planning. And this is the combination, it's the flagship event. It's the combination of the property and the business. So I think I might have both sets of you in the room right now. Online, you'll see quite a lot, these debates at the moment. You know, team property, is that property is still the one, bricks and mortar, that's the best investment. And then you've got the other team who are business, entrepreneurs, that businesses is what's gonna give you money, returning every month going forward. You can buy from baby boomers and you can invest in business. So I'm interested. Can I get a shout out from anybody here who is team business? Can I have a big round of applause for team business? Thank you. And, I mean, that was loud, so I don't know how many of you are team property. Team property, can I hear you? Oh, I think you might have won. Let's go again. Team business. And team property. Yeah, guys, property won. That's my usual area, so that's good. Thank you. Well done. Good. Lovely to see. So well done, everybody, to making it this far into the day. It's your Saturday, as Anthony has said, and it's a fantastic opportunity to be here. So I'm going to be calling my panel up on stage. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take their seats and they're going to give you a 60-second intro. Please keep it to 60 seconds, guys, because when we go through it all, there'll be so many questions for you all to be presenting and explaining to everybody what it is you do and how you can help and adding value to everybody here. So for probably your second to final round of applause, because we're doing it at the end, big round of applause, please, for my panelists today. Come on up, guys. All of you, come on up.
Number 1. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Good. So one by one, we're going to make our way down. So first of all, Scott, off you go.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Walker. I'm a wills and probate lawyer, and I help professionals and business owners to secure their financial legacy and also protect the people that matter most to them. So when it comes to estate planning and tax planning, it's not just about passing on assets, it's also about securing and safeguarding your loved ones so your legacy can preserve for generations. So I do that by helping clients put the right structures in place with wills, lasting powers of attorney, so they can ensure their loved ones are safeguarded. And beyond that, I also train legal professionals and organisations to navigate the complexities of wills, probate, and mental capacity law.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope that's not too loud. My name is Tapiwa Madovi. I'm a by day supported living provider. I'm also a property investor. Been investing in property since 2005. Been in the social care sector as a supported living provider for almost 10 years now. I provide, other than the main businesses, I provide mentorship and consulting for other providers who are either new to the sector or wanting to grow their businesses in the sector. And I also work with people who are looking at their investment journey, just sharing my experience and my knowledge and my network with those people as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks very much. Crystal.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Crystal Stewart. I am a family solicitor and owner of family law firm Stalwart Solicitors. We are based in Old Street in central London. However, we service clients throughout the UK. And what makes us different is that we offer a flexible, bespoke approach to family legal services, delivering things like evening and weekend appointments on request, 30-minute complimentary consultation, and as well as online appointments, face-to-face appointments where the client lives or works, We also work within the corporate wellbeing space, so we go into organisations, give the staff a presentation demystifying family law myths to ensure that they remain productive through some of the most difficult times in their lives, where they may be stressed, anxious or subject to depression, and that in turn allows for the culture of the company to be a positive one, where they retain their staff and there's fewer absenteeisms. So yeah, great to be here today.
Brilliant, thank you. And Carlos, last but not least.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carlos. I'm the CEO of the Charles Crown Group of Companies. We basically have three businesses. One is Charles Crown Financial, which is a mortgage network with 45 advisors all around the UK. We specialize in property investors and complex property deals. We advise in those areas. Our sister business is Charles Crown Insurance, where we are a directly authorized as well a commercial insurance brokerage firm. We do everything from professional indemnity, public liability, employers, buildings, blocks, restaurants, shops, you name it, we can insure it. And then we have Charles Crown Renovations, which is a company that specializes in bringing up properties from EPC ratings CD to ABC by utilizing heat pumps, solar panels, and insulation. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you so much for that. Thank you, everybody. Carlos, it'd be interesting to know, for those people in the room who are into property, but again, there's a mix, there's a lap over, of course, between business and property. In fact, property is a business of sorts. So these are all things that can be pollinated across both sides. So from your perspective, what are the key factors investors should consider before purchasing a buy-to-let property?
Well, I think at the moment it's important. It's always been important to look at location. Where are you going to buy that property? You know, location is super important. Supply and demand also very important if you have supply and demand in the area. But there are other factors that are obviously now affecting the property market: interest rates, inflation, the cost of living crisis. So there's a lot of things that are sort of problems for the property investors in general. But property is still a good investment. We were talking about before team business, team property. Guys, it's the same. The property business is a business. And business is business, right? And people that have good businesses, guess what? They invest their money in property. So it's the same.
Exactly that, exactly. And that's something that we always find interesting, that when people are saying, you know, I think property is better than business, I always say, well, isn't property a business, you know? And like you said, if you've generated wealth from a business, where else are you investing, right? Because you can't have it all in one thing. It's always better to go across multiple different avenues, right? Which is, again, what you can help with that planning going forward. So, I mean, one thing that entrepreneurs, I think we do have to consider it, and reality is, what happens when we get married, right? So what do I do with my wealth when I get married? I've got all these ideas. I've bought this property. I've then invested it in a business. But what do I do when my spouse tries to steal all my money? But there's also that. But Crystal? Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm being lazy. It's that time of day. Sorry. Crystal, can you tell us what it is that we should do to protect our wealth before we're getting married?
Yes, so being a family lawyer, you see people through different cycles in their lives, really. A lot of family law work is contentious, but the things such as prenuptial agreements, which are actually in our non-contentious area of practice. So for those of you that don't know, a prenuptial agreement is a legally binding document that can be signed. Prenuptial agreements in this country, in and of themselves, are not legally binding. However, they will be legally binding and upheld by the court if they're entered into freely, each of you having independent legal advice and not under duress. And they're useful where you have assets or certain property, or that could be property, or that could be savings, or that could be other valuable things to you that you would want to ring fence outside of the matrimonial pot. So what I mean by that is that the normal rules in relation to divorce is that all assets are split 50-50. And then the court applies something called the matrimonial causes act factor. So it looks at the age of the parties, the length of the marriage, the contributions of the parties, the future earning potential of the parties, and the welfare of the children is the court's primary concern. Now, having a prenuptial agreement will mean that the court will say, well, you've decided prior to getting married that these certain assets would be ring-fenced. That means that they won't fall within the matrimonial pot if things go wrong once you obtain a divorce. But what I would say is it's useful to note that the court still operates on a needs basis. So it may still be necessary to dip into the assets that are subject to a prenuptial agreement if the needs of the parties aren't met. And what I mean is the basic needs, like a roof over your head, ensuring that the children of the family are provided for. And what I've seen in my practice is a trend towards people that are getting married later, or second marriages where they've acquired assets already. So they may have property, they may have businesses, they may own assets with a business partner or family member, in which case there's more pressure to enter into a prenuptial agreement just to safeguard those third parties not subject to the marriage, to ensure that if the worst does happen, there's some sort of safeguards in place to ensure that other people aren't put out or their assets aren't dipped into.
Brilliant. And so during that prenup agreement and that phase of agreeing it, if I'm the financially stronger party, how would it be split? Is it up to me then to decide that during that prenup, and obviously you and your partner to decide that prior to marriage that I get to keep all my money? Is that right?
Yes. So both of you would have your own solicitors because independent legal advice is key. Because what you wouldn't want is the other party to later on say the prenup isn't enforceable because they didn't know what they were signing, they weren't given any legal advice, and they were under any sort of duress. And to safeguard from that as well, there's actually a rule that you can't enter into a prenup less than 6 weeks before you're getting married. And the idea is because if it's too close to the proximity of the wedding, you may feel pressurised, and in which case I would advise my clients on a post-nuptial agreement, which has the same effect as a prenuptial agreement, but it's just undertaken after the marriage has taken place.
Brilliant. And, sorry, go on. Yeah, of course.
So if I was getting married again and my wife-to-be said, look, the only way we are going to get married is if you sign this prenup, does that not then, if the worst was to happen later down the line, count as duress?
Yes, that would be. So one of the important conversations I have with my clients is the circumstances that have led them to come to a solicitor. If there's pressure from family or the spouse, I would say that that's going to be problematic. Because first and foremost, I'm an officer of the court, so I can't lie. So the fact that they've then told me they're under duress, I have to say, well, these aren't the circumstances that would mean your prenup can be enforceable, because you've basically told me you've been pressurised into this agreement, so it won't be enforceable potentially later on the line, down the line anyway.
Isn't there always some degree of duress when people are getting married, that one person wants to get married more than the other?
Well, that's a wider question there, isn't it, really?
Maybe we should move on.
Yeah, we've got a feeling towards that, right? So for those of you who joined the property seminars earlier that I was hosting will know that I mentioned I'm the co-founder and owner of a law firm called ILA. It's the UK's only law firm that specialises exclusively in property and finance, ILA. And one of the areas we do is the matrimonial ILA work. So obviously when I'm hearing that, I'm like, yes, that's amazing, because it's true, right? People come to us, without boring you too much about the case law, it came from a case called Ettridge, and basically what happened in that situation, the woman was being forced by her husband to sign agreements that she didn't want to sign. And so particularly when you enter marriages, but it can work the other way, of course. Times are changing, but classically it came from that space where someone, usually the woman in the case law, was being put under duress. But obviously, of course, now, us women are sometimes earning more than our partners, and so we should be, So it's changed. But either way, it's the ILA requirement to make sure that neither party is being forced to enter into it. So that's absolutely right, yes. So, Scott, we've talked about what happens when we get married, but I want to tap into a bit more about what happens when we die, because those are two things that bring us so much joy in life, marriage and death. So that's where we're at today. Yeah, I think I'm taking after you here, aren't I? So it's reported that approximately half of the UK adult population don't have a will. Now, why do you think this is, and what stops people from making a will?
Interestingly, people will also, or may be under undue influence or undue pressure to make wills as well. So just picking up on what you were just saying there. But I think I've noticed over the years with the clients I help and support to make wills, there's a few common reasons why we don't make wills, and one of them you've just touched upon. It's the conversation about dying and illness. I think we shy away from that and we don't like to talk about it. I think as a subject it is quite difficult to broach that. you know, whether that's with family or it could be with somebody else, a close friend or another relation. But also, I think it's the time factor. I think we lead very busy lives. We don't always see the importance, so it's not prioritised when it comes to will making. And that just means it doesn't get done. We may start to do one, and we don't finish it.
Yeah, and do you think there's something to do with the age demographic, there we go, because obviously when we're in our younger years, we tend to think we're a bit indestructible, a bit immortal. So at what age do you tend to see the shift of people deciding, actually, do you know what, I better get a will? You know, when does that happen?
Usually it is people in later life. I have noticed over recent years there is a shift of more younger people looking to make wills. And I think particularly within the ages of 40 plus, you know, and I do see clients making wills a lot younger than that. So I think there is this recognition that it is important to think about really early. You know, a good example is if we have young children, we may want to think about appointing guardians, so people to look after our children if something was to happen to us. So there's definitely a shift happening.
Absolutely, and that leads on to your area of expertise, doesn't it, really, in terms of tax planning type of work moving forward. So people are now structuring it in businesses, and we have tax planning efficiencies for our business, which obviously tries to in any way reduce the amount of taxes we're paying. But how do we balance that along with ensuring we're leaving the most for the future generation, our children or anybody else who you've left in the will? How do we do that?
I think there's not infinite, there's a number of ways, and I don't know how much time we've got to kind of get into the detail of all of that today. And disclaimer, I am not an accountant, I am not a tax advisor, I'm just somebody who likes to get money and likes to keep it.
Yeah, people want to speak to him then, right?
I love HMRC, you know, I love our government, but I don't want to give them any more money than I have to. So I think some of the easiest ways in terms of tax planning and tax efficiency, if we're talking about, certainly from a property perspective, is vesting your properties in limited companies. I know it's something that a lot of people have started to do over the last few years. I think there was a session earlier talking about the rent reform bill that's potentially coming up. Some of those situations can be mitigated quite substantially by holding your property or properties in limited companies. Now, again, it all depends on how big your portfolio is, how big your asset base is, because there is going to be costs to each of these strategies. And you have to look at your particular circumstances in terms of whether it's worth investing in that upfront cost for what that benefit is going to be. So I think, yeah, at a basic level, using company structures of some description is always a good thing to look at. Something else that's worth looking at as well is, I'm sure most of us have heard about trusts. All I would say at this point, you know, go and do some research on trusts. The thing to bear in mind with trusts, however, is that anything that you gift into that trust has to be 7 years before you pass on, because otherwise it's not deemed as being zero rated, for lack of a better expression. So if you are going to start looking at trust, the sooner you do it, make sure that you do it 7 years before you die. I don't know if anybody in the room knows when they're going to die, but make sure you do it 7 years before you die, because otherwise you're going to lose some of the benefits of vesting those properties and those assets in trusts.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, all of us here today are here to build not only our own wealth and assets and opportunities, but, you know, if you're then leaving that behind somebody else when you're no longer here, you know, what a waste would be to have half it taken away, or, you know, and that's, as you're saying, you know, it's not that we are trying to actively avoid it. It's just obviously the way best to structure it to ensure you leave as much as possible. You've worked hard to get here, and so that's so important, right? And you said about there being lots of different ways, and maybe not having the time to go into this today, but what was like a big pitfall you are seeing that maybe investors are missing in terms of that transfer, the generational transfer of wealth? Is there a big pitfall in there that they're mucking up there?
Great question. I think one of the major pitfalls that I've seen is that we do a lot of work building our assets, building our businesses, building our portfolios. And for most of us, I've got children. I'm sure people in the room have got children, or, you know, other family members, or even if you're leaving those assets to charities or whatever good causes that you believe in, and you want to leave as much of that as possible to you know, whoever you're bequeathing that to leaving your legacy too. What I have seen that we don't do well enough generally, and I need to do better as well, is actually informing and educating the people that we are leaving these assets to in terms of how to safeguard, how to manage, how to enhance, how to grow.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I bought a couple of properties off a lady a couple of years ago. Lovely lady. She'd inherited a house, nice big house from her uncle. She'd inherited a nice flat in a nice part of London from her parents. But for her, instead of these being assets that she could enjoy the benefit from, they were actually liabilities, because to her, she didn't know how to manage, wasn't able to manage, and it became a massive stress factor that was actually affecting her health. And obviously, I came along and helped to resolve the situation.
Yeah.
That helped her and helped myself at the same time. But what I realized from that is actually sometimes we are not really passing on that key information to the people that we're leaving these assets to. And then because they don't know or understand how to deal, they may then dispose of those very same assets for less than what we would assume or expect those assets to be worth. Certainly when you account for the time, blood, sweat, and tears that we have put into building those assets up.
You're so right. And I think, you know, particularly business owners, so property, again, you're passing on this asset, but still it's a business. So how are you running it? What team do they need around them? What's the best returns they can get? How are they strategizing it? You know, as a business owner, so I own a law firm, that's my business, that's my source of income, that's what I'd be leaving to somebody. What if my child doesn't want to be a lawyer? And I wouldn't blame them, by the way. So, you know, it's one of those things where, well, what do they do with that? Who's educating them to say, okay, well, here's this law firm that you've inherited, but what do you do with it? And I think putting it in that frame when it's something so obvious like being a lawyer that not everybody would want to do, the same applies to your business. Whether you own a bakery or a phone shop, you know, what if they don't want to do that? So then how are we passing that on? What education are we passing on? Are we passing on the education of what to sell it for, how to get, how to sell a business, how to market a business? It's really important, right? And then in terms of like other kind of changes in legislation that we're looking at and how they're going to be operating in that market, Carlos, that's something that you know quite a lot about. So how are we seeing the recent changes in legislation and taxation impacting the buy-to-let market now? And obviously, where's that going to head in the future? Have you got any thoughts on that for the future generation?
Well, at the moment, as you can see, you know, we're going to have the next budget coming up this month probably, and I think it's going to affect property in a massive way, but we'll have to see. But there's probably going to be, it could be changes in inheritance tax, it could be changes in capital gains tax. Landlords have been hit by taxation in the last 10 years quite a lot. And this is why, like my colleague was saying here, most people are now moving from holding properties in a personal name to limited company, obviously to be able to deduct interest payments from their mortgages and plus many other things that they can do when they incorporate. I was speaking today in the lobby with an accountant, and he was saying to me that he has loads of clients right now incorporating because obviously he's going to protect them from all these changes that are coming up. Interest rates are there, quite high, have they been for the last few years. That's obviously affected the market quite a lot. We believe that those rates are going to come down, hopefully, but obviously the war in the Middle East is not helping. So nobody knows what's going to happen on the 7th of November, coming up, where the Bank of England meets again to discuss rates. So we are all waiting to see what's going to happen. But again, all of those things, don't think that it's the end of the property market, because it's not. Keep investing in property. It's a good investment, mostly when you have businesses. But it's very important what you were saying in regards to educating our children and the people that are coming behind us, because recently I was talking with a friend of mine that runs football camps for children, and one of the parents sent a person to our office to be with us for a week to learn about property. He was 16 years old. We have him for a week there. We teach this kid everything that we know about property, and the guy at the end of the week was talking about interest rates and buy-to-lets and this and that, and he was only 16 years old, right? Because of that, I went back to Wally with my friend and said, mate, I think we should do something with this. I think we should have a session with all your kids and start teaching them about these things, because this is what's missing in education. This is something that they don't teach you in school, and I think it's crucial. So,
yeah, absolutely. well done for that, because I think, sorry to jump in, we're talking about legacy, obviously, and I think that really is what it's about, right? Showing the next generation practically what to do and how to do it, and how to kind of learn different ways to strategize and to invest and what have you. So, awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And I think we all see that in the education system, don't we? I mean, no one told me how to write a balance sheet or how to reconcile invoices, how to market a business. No one told me any of that. And so, we end up in a situation where we're trying to work it out now, which, by the way, good. Well done to everybody here and all of us for doing that. But wouldn't it be best if we were learning as soon as we can, 12, 13, 14, however old that needs to be. And before we head out to the questions, which I'm sure there's so many of them from a fantastic panel, Scott, can you round off for telling us, we've heard everything here about the different strategies and what we can do to leave our estates, but what really is the benefit then of having a will? It might seem obvious to some, but I think not to everybody. So what is the benefit of having a written will in place?
One of the main benefits is that tax conversation. So we were just talking about, tax changes. So it really is an opportunity to plan, plan for tax. Do we have a liability in the first place? What might we see in the future? What future proofing can we do? So it's really important from that. So when we miss the opportunity to make a will, we're also denying ourselves the opportunity to have that tax planning conversation. But I also think that it's important from looking at, both from passing assets on, but also it's making sure our relatives know what we want. We want to be able to make a will and identify all the important people in our life. And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about providing information. So we want to be able to make our will, but also tell everybody about it, tell our relatives, which will then help them to plan for their own inheritance down the line. Just one other point to perhaps mention from a business point of view, and going back to tax, so it is an opportunity to think about business property relief, which is a relief from inheritance tax, where you have certain business assets. So from, again, from that perspective, it's really important.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I have no doubt the audience is going to have so many questions to ask about this, because lots of things here that we could continue talking about for so long. So let's fire out to the audience. Have I got someone running around with a mic? Is that my guy TJ again? Thank you. So,
sorry, guys, just on TJ. Sorry, Anastasia. I know
Nick,
you're never going to invite me back.
Get on.
TJ, can you just stand up for a second, please?
Yes.
TJ, can you stand up for a second, please? Guys, can we please give this young man a round of applause?
Woohoo!
The reason I'm bigging up TJ, there's a young lady downstairs, I'm sure all of us have seen her, and if we hadn't, TJ made sure we saw her. She's 16 years old, she has her own business selling cakes. TJ made a point of going around to make sure that she had a very successful day today, and that's what, for me, that's what legacy is. Right, we can all come here and network and do great stuff and swap business cards and do great deals and all the rest of it, but TJ actually went out of his way to support a very young person who's running her own business, baking her own cakes, to make sure that she sold out. She sold out, right? Yeah, she sold out. Has she resold my stock? Not yet, okay. So I'm making money off this as well. TJ invested out of his own pocket and invested his own time today to make sure that she had a good day today. So we just want to big you up, sir. Thank you very much. Well done.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Amazing, amazing work. And it would have made our day, right? It's beautiful. It's lovely. So, any questions? I'm sure we do. Ooh, go on. Go on, Carl.
Thank you. I've got a trust that I've set up for whatever assets that me and my wife have got. But could somebody on the stage, I'm not quite sure who's, expand more on the benefits of setting up a trust and a bit about the business asset disposal relief, if you don't mind?
Who wants to take that? Go on, jump on in.
Yeah, sure. So with a trust, part of the benefit is protecting those assets for future generations or the relatives that are named in the trust. So it is about preservation. You might want to So when you have a trust, it might be that you are protecting them from financial issues in the future that one of the beneficiaries may have. It might be as a result of divorce or a breakdown in relationships. So they are a mechanism where you are earmarking those particular assets. It might involve some tax planning advantages as well. So as we were saying earlier, when we're gifting assets into a trust, if we survive our 7 years, then it's outside of our estate for tax purposes. So that's another benefit and another advantage.
You also mentioned business, I think you said business asset disposal relief, BADR, which was formerly known as entrepreneurs relief. So that's usually for when you sell a business, usually, or an asset which may be in a business. So if you've got a property that's in a limited company, technically that's a business. And entrepreneurs relief, I think it's changed recently, and it's probably about to change again with the new budget that's coming. Lord help us. But anyway, so with entrepreneurs relief or BADR, you get a certain percentage that you can gain in capital gains. So let's say you started a business 10 years ago from scratch. That business is now worth, for simplicity, £1 million. Or let's say £10 million. You sell that business for £10 million. That first £1 million effectively is tax-free. And then you would then pay tax on the remaining 9 million. That's BADR, business asset disposal relief. Business property relief is that same business. We spoke about someone with a bakery earlier. So let's say you've got a bakery and you own the shop or the factory or the bakery that you actually make those cakes in. If you own that property and that property is used in the business, then the valuation of that property when it comes to inheritance tax is deducted from that inheritance tax liability. So let's say the property is worth £500,000 and you've got £1 million in assets that you're leaving as part of your inheritance. They would then take that £500,000 off the inheritance tax liability as part of your business property relief, because that property is part of a business. So having assets in either in a business or in a limited company of itself, or even better, if you've got a business and you can have property that's being used in and for the business, you can then kind of get a double whammy or a triple whammy by claiming the cost of that property from a business property relief point of view from inheritance tax. But also, before we get to inheritance, while you're still alive, you can tell yourself how much rent you want to tell yourself, you want to charge yourself. So if you own the bakery and your business rents the bakery from you, you can charge yourself whatever rent you want to charge yourself. What that does is reduces your profits on the operating business, so therefore your tax liability on the operating business comes down. By increasing your rent on the asset, on the property, you're increasing the value of the asset, because your rent on a commercial property, the value is based on the income. So you're reducing your liability on one side, in terms of tax, therefore keeping more money. You're increasing your value and your income on the other side, therefore making more money. And then once you've got that enhanced valuation, you can then refinance, do other things, go and acquire more assets. There's a beautiful young gentleman in a pinkish shirt called Peter. That's in front of you there. Give us a wave, Pete. Pete is a mortgage broker, and he can help you certainly in terms of residential or commercial properties. I've done some business with them. I struggled trying to get a deal done because it was quite a tricky deal. They were the only people that managed to get it done. It took me about 6-7 months of talking to different brokers to try and get a deal done. They were the only people that could get it done. So make sure you get his card. Pete, you can give me my money. You can pay me later.
That's why he didn't speak to me. He didn't know me then. Otherwise, he would have speak to me.
The thing with you, Carlos, is that once you've got an accent, it's just, you've already got a secret superpower.
He didn't know me then.
We've got 3 questions going around here, so let's try and squeeze them in. Apparently, we're going to do one more. So I think, who's asked a question today? I know you have, lovely. This gentleman, have you asked one before today yet? You have. So let's go to the person at the back. I don't know, have you asked a question yet today? I don't think you have. Let's go for you then. Let's just do it.
Investor. Sorry, I don't know which one of you is a property investor on the platform.
I think all of us.
All of us, okay. I have a property portfolio of something like 100 houses, 100 properties, mainly in the Midlands going towards Glasgow. I'm looking to see if anybody's interested in doing a collaboration in any way.
Yes. I am.
That was an easy one. So can we get another question in? Can we get one more? Because that was just a yes. Everybody in the room, come on. Oh, can't we do the two? Come on, it's the end of the
Let's
day.
quickly squeeze them in. Let's quickly squeeze them in.
Squeeze them in.
I promise I'll keep my answers
Hi,
short.
thank you again for this wonderful panel. Really appreciate it. Quick question. Right, if you get married, you have a prenuptial agreement, you also have a beneficiary trust, you put your children's assets in it. What if you get divorced? Will the beneficiary trust be ruined? Will it be split? What is that? Sorry. Thank you.
Go, go, go.
So in relation to how that's all determined, the court will first look at your prenuptial agreement and that will be legally binding. However, it depends on the circumstances at that time. There may have been a change of circumstances when you're thinking about things like, have there been other children? Has anyone lost their job? Is there a change in income? Are the needs of the parties going to be met by going by virtue of the prenuptial agreement? So to answer your question, they'd look at all the agreements you have, but decide on based on the new up-to-date financial circumstances, can the needs of all the parties be met? Most primarily, the needs of the children, making sure there's a roof over their head, and the welfare of the children is the court's primary concern.
Amazing, thank you, Crystal. And then final one, let's go.
Okay, I think mine is a bit easy. Scott or Tapua, I'm not sure. You mentioned a couple of reliefs for businesses. If you have property in a limited company, you essentially have a business. Do all property types qualify for those reliefs? The two reliefs that you mentioned, I don't know the exact names, but you mentioned two reliefs.
Just to give a short answer, all property types will not qualify for all reliefs. Each type of property will qualify for a particular type of relief. So for example, I'm in supported living, so care homes and supported living will qualify for a particular type of relief. Furnished holiday lets or Airbnb service accommodation will qualify for something else. Factories will qualify for something else, and so on and so on. It's about understanding what your particular asset is and what it will qualify for. If you have a warehouse that Amazon are renting from you, that may well qualify for something different as well. And there's also qualifications on a local and on a local level, because the local authority in that area is maybe trying to encourage people to build factories, for example, or to build warehouses because they've got too much land and they just want to generate money, or there may be other national things that are happening. So it really depends. Sorry, that was a bit of a long-winded thing to just say it depends.
I was looking at you, I'm getting told off over here. I can feel him burning in my skull. Right, come on. Amazing. Everybody's happy. I think we've done all the questions. I think I'm just in time. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm sure Anthony's going to do a closing pitch, but just to say thank you to our panelists, a massive round of applause as they leave the stage, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, well done. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks. Do we on here? Do we go?
1, 2, 1. Okay, if you could just stay. I just want to thank Anastasia for hosting today. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Please connect with each one of our panelists online. With the exception of Carlos, who I've known for years and has been really good to me. I met most of the people here through LinkedIn, right? But one of the things that we were talking about earlier, it's important that you build relationships. So don't let your first message be, hey, will you buy this? Or, hey, like, build a relationship, build a rapport, because I would imagine you get a ton of stuff and everybody's asking for something. Is that?
For sure, and I'm contemplating in what way I can reply to them to be like, try harder. Because don't, you know,
do better.
Do better. Because sending that message of, hi Anastasia, I do this, do you want to buy it from me? I just don't know. So you're absolutely right, you know, build that relationship, comment on posts, say, oh, you know, I saw you walk your dog the other day, lovely. You know, that kind of interaction on people's posts, engaging before you try and sell stuff. Yeah, it's really important.
Yes. And the other thing is about deepening relationships. It's about face-to-face stuff. I think, you know, we've come into this thing where, like, we automatically book a meeting on Zoom when sometimes we could just call the person. Does that make sense? But if you get an opportunity to do something face-to-face, meet face-to-face, try to do that, especially when you're talking about big-ticket items. It's a lot easier to do business with someone that you've met in person. All right, so we have Carlos, we have Tapua, we had Scott, we had Crystal. All of their information is in the magazine. Did everyone get the Expo magazine? If you didn't, There's some available downstairs. Could we have the LinkedIn slide, please? Thank you, Anastasia. Everyone, a round of applause for Anastasia. So link with me, and we can link with other people. And I'm going to close on this thing. There's so many things that we talk about that isolate one specific discipline. The one thing that I found, and these 3 things that we've talked about today. So we've talked about connecting. We've talked about the walk, so I hope everybody will donate or come on the walk with us. And the last one is the funnels. Again, I'm going to ask the question, who's familiar with sales funnels? All right? Everyone that is not using sales funnels, explore it. Not necessarily just for the funnel or the click funnel or the Russell Brunson stuff, but understanding the methodology of having something that attracts a person based on being specific enough that they can understand that they want the thing. So I've talked about it throughout the day about pitching, how people will come up here and they actually start within the first probably 30 to 45 seconds. They start really well. And people are pretty interested in the thing they said, but then they just keep talking. So one of the things that you'll learn through understanding sales funnels, how they work, it will help you discipline yourself. So if you're a property professional, if you are just someone that's starting a business, it doesn't matter what you're doing. This methodology can help any business. And I want to shout out Pauline. I know she's going to be upset with me, but Pauline runs the Smart Landlords WhatsApp group. I would imagine some of you are familiar with it. She also has a radio show. She was here last year, and she walked in, and people were like, oh, I've been in her group for years. This group is, first of all, it's really well moderated. So it's one of those WhatsApp groups that you don't mind seeing messages because everything is relevant. It's so informative, and she has tons of information for landlords. So if you're a property developer, if you are anything to do with property, you can reach out to Pauline's Smart Landlords group, but I will say it is an exclusive group. So she's not going to let everybody in there, so make sure you build a relationship. I want to thank everybody for spending their Saturday with us. I hope everybody's connected with someone else, because you never know who the person sitting next to you. I'm not even going to lie. When that gentleman was like, I have 100, I was like, okay, right? So you never know. You never know. And not that that's why you should want to connect with someone, but let's connect, let's deepen relationships, and let's be collaborative, all right? Now, anyone that knows me, you hear me say this all the time. When the tide comes in, all the boats rise. So, like, quite often my wife will say to me, oh, you're always doing this for this person and that for that person. It's all good, because what's for me is for me. All right, so let's try to help each other. Let's try to build a solid community, and everyone can succeed. Thank you for joining us, and we'll have some time downstairs, and yes, I'll take a round of applause. Thank you.